Dr. Maya Patel's coffee cup clinked against its saucer as she set it down, her eyes fixed on the holographic display hovering above her desk at the Singapore Space Center. The morning sun painted the city's skyline in warm hues, but her attention was focused on something far beyond Earth's atmosphere. "Lynn, could you verify these readings?" Maya called out to her colleague, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through her system. Lin Chen looked up from her own workstation, her dark hair falling loose from its neat bun as she hurried over. The anomalies had appeared just beyond lunar orbit, thousands of them, materializing simultaneously in a perfect geometric pattern that no natural phenomenon could create. The objects were massive, each one larger than the largest spacecraft humanity had ever constructed. "I'm running a secondary scan now," Lin said, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Maya, these energy signatures, they're unlike anything in our database." Maya nodded, already reaching for the secure communication terminal. As head of the Deep Space Monitoring Division, she had protocols to follow. But something in her gut told her they were already behind schedule. The first message arrived before she could even complete the alert sequence. It appeared simultaneously on every screen in the facility, text flowing across displays in perfect Mandarin, English, Hindi, and dozens of other languages. "Your species will submit to the collective. Resistance is mathematically impossible." Lin's hand found Maya's shoulder, squeezing gently. "What do we do?" Maya took a deep breath, her mind already racing through possibilities. "First, we confirm what we're seeing. Then we prove their math wrong." The next 4 hours passed in a blur of activity. Maya coordinated with observatories worldwide, while Lin established connections with civilian astronomical networks. Reports flooded in from Tokyo, Santiago, Mumbai, and Moscow. Everyone seeing the same impossible sight. The alien ships, and there was no doubt now that they were ships, maintained their perfect formation, a crystalline lattice of metallic bodies reflecting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. They were beautiful in their precision, but that same precision sent chills down Maya's spine. "Look at this," Lin called out, projecting a new analysis onto the main screen. "Their formation hasn't shifted by even a millimeter since arrival. No corrections, no adjustments for gravitational influences." Maya leaned forward, her scientific curiosity momentarily overwhelming her fear. "That's impossible. Even accounting for advanced technology, there should be minute variations. The moon's gravity alone." She trailed off as a new thought struck her. "Lin, what if their weakness isn't in their technology, but in their assumptions? They're too perfect." A small smile played across Lin's face as she caught Maya's train of thought. "They're not accounting for chaos theory. Real space is messy, organic, human." Maya finished. She pulled up a communication channel to the newly formed Emergency Response Council. "This is Dr. Maya Patel at Singapore Space Center. I need to speak with Isabella Rodriguez in Mexico City immediately. Tell her it's about quantum uncertainty in navigation systems." As she waited for the connection, Maya glanced out the window at the bustling city below. People were starting to gather in the streets, looking up at the sky, though the alien ships weren't visible to the naked eye. There was fear in their postures, but also something else. Curiosity, determination, and that uniquely human spark of defiance. Lin's terminal chimed with an incoming message. "Maya, Isabella is online. She's already noticed something strange about their quantum signatures." Maya smiled, feeling the first stirrings of hope. The aliens might have perfect technology and mathematical certainty on their side, but they were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength lay in its beautiful imperfections. "Let's show them why they should have studied chaos theory," she said, reaching once again for her now cold coffee. "Connect me to Isabella. We have work to do." Isabella Rodriguez's Mexico City apartment buzzed with energy as multiple screens displayed cascading data streams. The morning sun hadn't yet reached her windows, but she hadn't slept anyway. Not since the aliens arrived. "There it is again," she muttered, adjusting her glasses. The quantum signatures from the alien fleet showed a pattern she'd seen before in her own failed experiments from graduate school. She opened a secure channel to Singapore. Dr. Patel, their quantum computing architecture. It's almost too elegant. Isabella's fingers flew across her keyboard as she spoke. They've achieved perfect quantum coherence, but that's exactly the problem. On her main screen, Maya's tired face nodded. Because perfect systems can't handle imperfect input. Exactly. Isabella pulled up a new window, connecting to her impromptu global network of civilian programmers. Mai, are you seeing this? Mai Wang's young face appeared in another window, her Singapore bedroom visible behind her. Despite being only 17, she'd already made a name for herself in quantum programming circles. The alien systems have no error correction, Mai said, excitement clear in her voice. They don't need it because they've achieved perfect stability. But that means they can't handle quantum noise, Isabella finished. Not the way Earth's systems can. We had to develop robust error correction because we couldn't achieve perfect coherence. Maya's eyes widened with understanding. Our primitive technology is actually more resilient because it evolved to handle imperfection. Isabella's chat channels exploded with activity as programmers worldwide began testing her theory. They were a diverse group, students, professionals, hobbyists, all brought together by the crisis. What had started as a casual quantum computing forum had transformed overnight into humanity's digital defense network. Look at their communication protocols, Mai said, sharing her screen. They're using quantum entanglement for instant communication, but the entanglement is too perfect. It's like they've never encountered random interference. Isabella smiled, remembering her professor's words from years ago. Perfect is the enemy of good. She'd been frustrated then, trying to achieve stable quantum states. Now, those countless failures might save humanity. We need to introduce controlled chaos into their systems, she said, already coding. Not enough to be filtered out as noise, but enough to cascade through their networks. May, can you help me model the quantum interference patterns? The teenager grinned. Already on it. I'm calling it protocol uncertainty. For the next hour, their global team worked in synchronized chaos. Programmers from Tokyo shared quantum noise generation algorithms. A team in Bangalore provided cryptographic frameworks. A college student in Sao Paulo discovered a way to amplify the effect using Earth's own magnetic field. They're so advanced, May observed while testing a sequence, but they never had to struggle like we did. They never learned to adapt. Isabella nodded, thinking of her own journey. Growing up in Mexico City, she learned to navigate chaos every day. From unpredictable power outages to crowded streets, that adaptability had shaped her approach to quantum computing, just as humanity's imperfections had shaped their technology. Dr. Patel, Isabella called, we're ready for a small-scale test. If this works, we can disrupt their quantum communications without them even realizing it's an attack. They'll think it's natural quantum decoherence. Maya's face showed fierce approval. Do it. Lynn's team has their sensors ready to monitor the results. Isabella took a deep breath, looking at the faces in her chat windows. May's determination, Maya's confidence, and dozens of others around the world, all working together. Perfect quantum coherence might be mathematically elegant, but humanity's strength lay in their beautiful chaos. Initiating protocol uncertainty, she announced, her fingers dancing across the keyboard one last time. Let's show them why perfection is overrated. Karena Sadia stood on her rooftop observatory in Jakarta, Indonesia, her telescope pointed at the pre-dawn sky. While most amateur astronomers had their equipment trained on the alien fleet, she was looking at something else entirely, the stars themselves. There's something wrong with their positioning, she murmured into her tablet's recorder. The alien ships maintained their perfect formation, but their alignment seemed slightly off relative to the stellar background. As an astronomical data analyst, Karana had spent years mapping stellar drift patterns. Those subtle shifts were telling her a story. Her tablet chimed with an incoming call from Singapore. Dr. Patel, I think I've found something important. Go ahead, Karana. Maya's voice came through clearly. We could use some good news. Protocol uncertainty is working, but the aliens are adapting faster than we expected. Karana pulled up her analysis software, sharing her screen. They're using stars for navigation, but they're using old data. Their stellar maps don't account for proper motion, the actual movement of stars through space. How is that possible? Maya asked. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Because they're perfect, Karana said, excitement building in her voice. Too perfect. They must have mapped our sector of space once and assumed stellar positions would remain constant. They never considered that stars move independently of each other. She highlighted a cluster of stars in her display. Look at the Pleiades cluster. Their ships are aligned to where these stars were positioned approximately 50 years ago. They're working from outdated maps. There was a moment of silence as Maya processed this information. Can we use this? Yes, Karana said, already typing. Every major observatory on Earth has been mapping stellar drift patterns. We have decades of data showing exactly how stars move through space. If we combine this with Isabella's quantum interference, we could feed them false navigation data. Maya finished. Not by hacking their systems, but by making them doubt their own stellar references. Karana nodded, even though Maya couldn't see her. I'll need help. This is too much data for one person to process. You'll have it. I'm connecting you with observatories worldwide right now. Within minutes, Karana's tablet was filled with incoming messages. Astronomers from Chile's Atacama Desert, South Africa's Karoo region, and Hawaii's Mauna Kea began sharing their data. Each location offered a different perspective on the sky, building a complete picture of stellar motion. A new voice joined the conversation. Isabella Rodriguez from Mexico City. Karana, if you can provide the stellar drift patterns, we can integrate them into protocol uncertainty. Instead of just disrupting their quantum communications, we can make their entire navigation system question itself. Karana felt a smile spread across her face as she watched the sun begin to rise over Jakarta. The stars might be fading from view, but their data was about to become Earth's most powerful weapon. The aliens think space is static, unchanging, she said, making final adjustments to her calculations. They never learned what every Earth astronomer knows. The universe is always in motion, always changing. She sent her completed analysis to Maya and Isabella. The data represented years of patient observation, countless nights spent tracking the slow dance of stars across the sky. What had seemed like purely academic research was now humanity's shield. Transmitting stellar drift patterns now, she announced. Let's show them why they should have kept better star charts. As the morning light painted Jakarta's skyscrapers in gold, Karana looked up at where she knew the alien fleet hung in space. They had come expecting to find a primitive species. Instead, they were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was their endless curiosity about the ever-changing cosmos above them. Sofia Martinez stood before the wall of monitors at Chile's Solar Observatory, her eyes darting between real-time solar activity readings and the patterns of alien ship movements. 3 days into the invasion, and she'd noticed something odd about their behavior. Look at this correlation, she said, highlighting a series of data points for her colleague in Tokyo. Every time we get a solar flare, their ships adjust position slightly. They're avoiding the radiation. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's face appeared on one of her screens, looking intrigued. Send me the data. I'll cross-reference it with our magnetosphere readings. Sophia's fingers flew across her keyboard, transmitting the analysis. The aliens might have perfect quantum computers and advanced star maps, but they seemed unusually cautious about solar activity. As a climate scientist specializing in solar weather patterns, she found their behavior fascinating. Dr. Patel, she called, opening another channel to Singapore. I think we found another weakness. They're overreacting to solar radiation. Maya's tired but determined face appeared. Overreacting how? Their ships move away from any solar flare activity, even minor ones that wouldn't affect Earth's satellites. Sophia pulled up a simulation. It's like they have no natural shielding against solar radiation. They're relying entirely on positioning to avoid it. Isabella Rodriguez joined the call from Mexico City. That fits with what we're seeing in their quantum systems. Perfect quantum coherence would be extremely vulnerable to solar interference. And right now, we're approaching a period of increased solar activity, Sophia added, excitement building in her voice. The sun is entering an active phase of its cycle. Maya leaned forward. Can we use this? Better. Sophia shared her screen, showing a complex map of solar weather predictions. We can predict it. Earth scientists have been studying solar patterns for decades. We know exactly when and where solar flares are likely to occur. Yuki's voice came through with renewed energy. Sophia, look at these magnetosphere readings. Their ships are generating some kind of magnetic field, but it's too uniform. They're not accounting for the natural variations in Earth's magnetic field. Because they're too perfect again, Isabella added. They've never had to deal with the messy reality of living near an active star. Sophia felt a smile spread across her face as she began plotting solar weather patterns. Humanity had grown up under an unpredictable sun, learning to thrive despite its occasional tantrums. They'd built their technology to withstand solar flares, cosmic rays, and magnetic storms. We can use the observatory network to predict solar activity, she said, already sending messages to other facilities around the Pacific Rim. Force them to move their ships into predictable patterns. While we hit them with protocol uncertainty, Isabella added. And feed them false stellar navigation data. Maya finished. Sophia, coordinate with Kirana in Jakarta. She'll need to adjust her star charts based on the solar activity predictions. For the next hour, Sophia's observatory became a hub of global scientific cooperation. Astronomers from Santiago to Manila shared solar observations. Climate scientists worldwide contributed atmospheric data. Every piece of information helped refine their understanding of the aliens' weaknesses. The next major solar flare is predicted in 6 hours, Sophia announced, checking her calculations one final time. If we time this right, we can force their entire fleet to reconstruct their formation. While their quantum communications are disrupted, Isabella added, and their navigation systems are compromised, Yuki concluded. Sophia looked up through the observatory's dome at the late afternoon sky. Somewhere up there, an alien fleet that had crossed light years was about to learn why evolving around an active star had made humanity stronger, not weaker. The sun's always been our first line of defense, she said softly. They just don't know it yet. Hana Tanaka didn't mean to discover a way to confuse alien sensors. She was simply tending to her rooftop garden in Tokyo when she noticed the strange readings on her botanical monitoring equipment. The sensors she used to track plant growth were picking up unusual interference patterns. That's odd, she murmured, adjusting her tablet settings. The interference seemed strongest around her experimental bamboo hybrids, particularly where the morning dew had collected on the leaves. She opened a secure channel to the Global Defense Network. Dr. Patel, I think my plants are doing something interesting to their scanning technology. Maya's response was immediate. What kind of something, Dr. Tanaka? Hana positioned her tablet to show the readings. Their sensors seemed to have trouble processing organic growth patterns. Look at these signal disruptions. They're strongest where the plant life is most dense and varied. She panned her camera across the rooftop garden, showing the diverse ecosystem she created. Bamboo stalks swayed next to flowering vines, while hydroponic containers hosted an array of vegetables and herbs. Each plant type showed a different interference pattern. It's like their systems can't handle the complexity of natural growth patterns, she explained. They're trying to scan for uniform structures, but plants don't grow that way. Each leaf, each stem, each root system is unique. Isabella Rodriguez joined the call from Mexico City. That matches what we're seeing with protocol uncertainty. Their quantum systems struggle with organic randomness. Can we use this? Maya asked, her voice carrying a note of hope. Hana was already reaching out to her network of urban farming communities. Tokyo has hundreds of rooftop gardens. If we could coordinate with other cities. A global network of botanical interference, Sofia Martinez chimed in from Chile. Combined with the solar activity predictions, within hours, Hana's discovery sparked a worldwide movement. Urban farmers from Singapore to Sao Paulo began strategically positioning plants to maximize interference with alien scanning technology. Community gardens became shield generators. Vertical farms on skyscrapers turned into citywide protection networks. The interference is strongest with diverse ecosystems, Hana explained during a global coordination call. Mixed species, different growth patterns, varying heights and densities. The more chaotic and natural the growth, the harder it is for them to scan. She watched as her tablet displayed updates from around the world. New York's high-rise gardens were creating interference patterns visible from space. Mumbai's community farms were generating protective zones throughout the city. Even desert cities like Dubai were rapidly constructing greenhouse networks. Their technology is too perfect, Hana said, gently touching a bamboo leaf. They've never had to account for the beautiful chaos of natural growth. Every plant grows differently, responds differently to light and water and soil. You can't predict it with perfect mathematical models. Maya's voice carried renewed determination. Hana, coordinate with Sofia. We need to time the botanical interference with the solar flare predictions. Isabella, can you integrate this with protocol uncertainty? Already working on it, Isabella responded. Their quantum systems will be getting interference from stars, sun, and now Earth's own biosphere. Hana smiled as she looked out over Tokyo's skyline, where thousands of rooftop gardens were turning the city into an organic shield. Humanity had spent generations learning to work with nature rather than trying to perfect it. Now that very imperfection was becoming their strength. They came expecting to find primitive technology, she said, watching as neighboring buildings activated their hydroponic systems. Instead, they're learning that Earth's greatest defense isn't in our machines at all. It's in our understanding of life itself. Priya Malhotra sat cross-legged on her workbench in Mumbai's Engineering Institute, surrounded by pieces of salvaged alien technology. A small drone they'd recovered lay partially disassembled before her, its perfect crystalline circuits exposed to Earth's atmosphere for the first time. Look at how they designed this, she said, adjusting her video feed to the global defense network. Every component is identical, down to the molecular level. There's no redundancy, no variation at all. That fits with what we've seen in their ships, Isabella responded from Mexico City. Perfect quantum coherence. Perfect symmetry. Perfect failure points. Priya finished, holding up a circuit board. In Earth's technology, we build in redundancies. We expect components to fail, to degrade, to need replacement. But their systems. She carefully connected a power source to the alien circuit. On her screens, diagnostic readings sprang to life. They've never needed to account for imperfection. Their manufacturing is so precise that they assume nothing will ever go wrong. Maya's voice came through clearly from Singapore. Can we use this weakness? Better. Priya's hands moved swiftly, making subtle modifications to the alien technology. We can teach their systems how to fail gracefully. Look what happens when I introduce deliberate imperfections into their circuits. The diagnostic readings shifted, showing new patterns. Where the alien technology had been rigid and predictable, Priya's modifications made it adaptive, resilient. She'd learned this principle in her first year of engineering. Systems that bend don't break. I'm sending you the modification blueprints now, she said, uploading her designs. We can use their own technology against them, but make it more human, more imperfect. The next few hours became a global engineering collaboration. Technicians from Berlin to Bangalore began modifying captured alien tech using Priya's principles. Each piece of equipment they converted became a hybrid of alien precision and human adaptability. Their quantum processors are incredibly powerful, Priya explained, examining another component. But they can't handle unexpected variables, so we give them more variables than they can process. Sophia's voice joined from Chile. Like how they can't handle solar radiation patterns. Exactly, Priya nodded. And like how they struggle with Hannah's organic interference patterns. We're not trying to defeat their technology. We're teaching it how to evolve. Isabella's face appeared on one of her screens. Priya, can we integrate these modifications with protocol uncertainty? Create a cascading effect through their networks. Already on it. Priya pulled up a new simulation. Every piece of modified technology becomes a beacon of beautiful chaos. Their perfect systems try to correct for the imperfections, but that just creates more variations. She watched as the simulation showed the effect spreading through alien communication networks. Their perfect quantum coherence began to shift, to adapt, to become more like Earth's resilient but imperfect systems. They've never had to innovate like this, Priya said softly, remembering her grandmother's words about learning from failure. They achieved perfection and stopped growing. But humanity. We never stop adapting. Maya finished. Priya, how quickly can we implement these modifications globally? Priya looked at her screens, where engineers worldwide were already beginning to modify alien tech according to her specifications. Hours, maybe less. Every modified piece of technology becomes a seed of change in their networks. She stood up, stretching after hours of detailed work. Through her laboratory window, she could see Mumbai's skyline, where rooftop gardens created interference patterns under the setting sun. Somewhere up there, an alien fleet was about to learn why perfection wasn't evolution's end goal. It was evolution's dead end. Jun Nguyen sat at her grand piano in the Hanoi Conservatory of Music, her fingers hovering over the keys as she studied the waveform patterns on her laptop. The aliens' communication frequencies had a peculiar mathematical structure, one that reminded her of classical music theory. Listen to this, she said into her headset. Connecting to the global defense network. She played a complex chord progression, letting the notes hang in the air. On her laptop, the alien communication patterns showed distinct interference. What am I hearing? Maya asked from Singapore. Music is mathematics made beautiful, Jun explained, playing another sequence. But it's not just about perfect ratios. It's about the spaces between notes, the slight imperfections that make it human. The aliens' communication patterns can't handle these natural variations. Isabella's voice came through excitedly from Mexico City. Jun, play that progression again. I'm seeing ripples through their quantum network every time you hit certain frequencies. Jun complied, her trained fingers dancing across the keys. Years of classical training had taught her that true music wasn't about mechanical precision. It was about interpretation, emotion, the subtle variations that gave each performance life. Their communications are too rigid, she said, analyzing the interference patterns. They use pure frequencies, perfect mathematical ratios. But Earth's music has always been about harmonics, overtones, the beautiful complexity of sound. Within hours, musicians worldwide began contributing to what they called the Earth Symphony. Classical pianists in Vienna, traditional drummers in Lagos, electronic music producers in Seoul, each added their own cultural interpretation of the frequencies that disrupted alien communications. Look at this, Priya called from Mumbai, sharing her screen. The musical interference patterns are amplifying the effects of our modified technology. It's like we're teaching their systems to dance. Jun smiled at the analogy. Every culture on Earth has its own music, its own understanding of harmony and rhythm. We're not just attacking their communications, we're showing them the beauty of diversity. She pulled up recordings from around the world. Chinese erhu players creating haunting harmonics, Brazilian samba rhythms pulsing with life, Australian didgeridoos generating complex overtones. Each piece of music became a new way to introduce chaos into the aliens' perfect systems. Their quantum processors can't handle the complexity, Isabella reported. They're designed for perfect mathematical ratios, but Earth's music is full of deliberate imperfections, microtones, syncopated rhythms, emotional interpretations. Jun, Maya called, "Can you coordinate a global performance? Time it with Sophia's solar flare predictions and Hannah's botanical interference patterns." Jun was already composing, her fingers moving across the keys as she wrote a piece that would unite Earth's musical traditions. "We'll need musicians in every major city. As the planet rotates, each region will pick up the melody, creating a continuous wave of disruption." The next few hours were a symphony of global cooperation. Jun coordinated with orchestras, traditional musicians, and electronic artists worldwide. Each group added their own cultural elements to the composition, while maintaining the frequencies that interfered with alien communications. They came expecting to find a primitive species, Jun said, making final adjustments to the score. Instead, they're discovering that humanity's greatest strength is our ability to create beauty from chaos. She looked at her screens, where musicians around the world waited for their cue. In Singapore, Maya monitored the alien fleet's reactions. In Mexico City, Isabella watched quantum interference patterns. In Tokyo, Hana's gardens pulsed with life. In Mumbai, Priya's modified technology hummed in harmony. Jun placed her fingers on the keys one more time, ready to begin the performance that would show the aliens why Earth's music had always been about more than just perfect mathematics. "Let's show them," she said softly, "how humanity dances with chaos." Dr. Maya Patel stood at the main observatory window of the Singapore Space Center, watching the pre-dawn sky. 7 days had passed since the alien fleet's arrival. 7 days of humanity showing exactly why underestimating Earth had been the collective's greatest mistake. "Status report," she called, turning to face the global network displays. "Solar flare approaching peak intensity." Sophia responded from Chile, her voice steady. "Their fleet is already shifting position to avoid radiation exposure. Botanical interference networks at maximum capacity," Hana added from Tokyo. "Urban gardens worldwide are generating disruption fields. They won't be able to get clean scans of our cities." Isabella's voice came next from Mexico City. "Protocol uncertainty is fully integrated with Priya's modified tech. Their quantum networks are showing signs of unprecedented adaptation. Stellar navigation data is thoroughly compromised," Karana reported from Jakarta. "They're detecting star positions from 3 different time periods simultaneously. And the Earth Symphony begins in 5 minutes," Jun concluded from Hanoi. "Musicians worldwide are in position." Maya smiled, remembering how it had all started, with a cup of cold coffee and an impossible sensor reading. Now, humanity's greatest perceived weaknesses had become their strongest defense. "Their ships are starting to move," Lin Chen called from her station. "The formation is breaking down." On the main screen, they watched as the perfect crystalline pattern of the alien fleet began to shift. Solar radiation forced them to adjust position, while false stellar data made them question their coordinates. Protocol uncertainty disrupted their quantum communications, while Priya's modified technology introduced cascading variations into their networks. "Jun," Maya called, "begin the symphony." The first notes of Earth's unified response began in the Pacific, as musicians from New Zealand and Australia started playing. The melody traveled west with the dawn, picked up by orchestras in Asia, traditional ensembles in Africa, and classical musicians in Europe. "Their ships are trying to compensate," Isabella reported excitedly. "But every adjustment just creates more chaos in their systems." Maya watched as the alien fleet's perfect formation dissolved into confusion. Ships moved in conflicting patterns, their once flawless coordination shattered by humanity's symphony of controlled chaos. "They're broadcasting," Lin announced suddenly. The message appeared on their screens, no longer in perfect multiple languages, but in fragmented, uncertain text. How are you doing this?" Maya stepped forward, ready to deliver humanity's response. They had prepared something special, not a threat, not a demand, but a truth the aliens needed to understand. "Transmitting our reply now," she said softly. Onto every alien ship, they'd broadcast images of Earth's beautiful imperfection. Seeds sprouting through concrete, jazz musicians improvising melodies, children learning through trial and error, scientists embracing failed experiments as new discoveries, artists finding beauty in asymmetry. Your perfection is your limitation, Maya transmitted. You stopped evolving because you stopped adapting. But humanity, we never stopped growing, never stopped changing, never stopped learning from our mistakes. The alien fleet hung motionless in space as the Earth symphony reached its crescendo. Solar flares painted the sky in aurora lights, while modified alien technology pulsed in harmony with Earth's gardens and forests. We are offering you a choice, Maya continued. Stay and learn why imperfection is the greatest teacher, or leave with the understanding that perfection isn't the end of evolution, it's the end of growth. The response came within minutes. Ship by ship, the alien fleet began to retreat, their perfect formation permanently broken by their encounter with humanity's beautiful chaos. As the sun rose over Singapore, Maya looked at the faces of her colleagues around the world, scientists, artists, dreamers, and innovators who had proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in achieving perfection, but in learning to thrive within the artistry of imperfection.